Hi friends, this is the first video of season talk where we discuss about predictive dialer versus progressive dialer of C-Zentrix. I've been hearing this debate for some time that whether it be it our customers or our engineering team, everybody is asking this question. What should we use, predictive or progressive? What is the difference? So to tell you the difference, let's take an example of two customers. Customer A is into selling of credit cards, need to reach out to the widest range of customers to sell them their credit cards. Customer B is a services company, gives services to thousands of customers and wants to reach to them with their new services. So customer A, which needs to reach out to lakhs of customers to sell its credit card, means it has a huge database and it needs to run a dialer to connect to all these people in minimum period of time. At the same time, this customer wants that its abandoned call rate. So when the dialer dials out and connects to the customer and calls back to the agent is instantaneously available. If not, then the call gets abandoned. So it becomes necessary. This customer wants that the abandon rate is at its minimum. With this kind of scenario, predictive dialer is the best fit for this customer, because as the word predictive, it means that the dialer is able to predict in advance based on the lead set quality, the average handling time of the agent, the connect time for the call. It is able to determine that an agent will be free within next these many seconds. So it is able to save that time from one call to the other for the agent and dial out the call in advance and make sure that by the time the call is connected to the customer, the agent is free to take the next call. This is where sometimes the overlap can happen and the call can get abandoned. So what predictive dialer brings on the table, that it makes sure that the abandoned call rate is not more than 4% of the total answered calls in 72 hours of calling. This is what makes predictive dialer an interesting feature for C-Zentrix, that it gives you the right speed, right pacing, and at the same time make sure that your abandoned call rate is under control, so that your end customers are not harassed and you are following all the regulations of a telecom authority. Who needs progressive? Progressive dialer can be required by two kinds of customer. Customer A, in this case which I said we named it customer B, that he is looking to call up his own existing customers for new services. That means he has a small set of customers who are already his customers and he just wants to connect to them. So there is no point of dialing out and getting the call abandoned. He has to reach 100% of his customers. So in this scenario, a progressive dialing with 1:1 ratio of dialing fits in the best, that it calls one by one the customers and connects it to the agent. The scenario 2 can be that a customer is very ambitious and says that I am not bothered about abandoned call rate, just let me call at as high a pacing as possible so that I can churn my data very fast, and I'm aware that my data is very bad, maybe only 10% or even lesser of the data is valid data. Then in that case, a progressive dialer with very high pacing of 1:3 or higher can help to churn the data very quickly, but at the same time the possibility of abandoned call rate being very high, much more than 4%, is possible. So this is the exact difference between predictive and progressive dialer of C-Zentrix. Predictive dialer gives you exact dialing with controlled abandon rate and high efficiency, where agents are always in call and at the same time you are holding the abandon rate below 4%. Whereas a progressive dialer gives you the capability either to dial out calls one by one, so that the time between one call to the other is high and that much time is lost, or it can have a pacing very high where 1:3 and higher pacing where you can dial out numbers very fast and quick, but at the same time you can have very high abandon rate and you can't control the abandon rate. So depending upon the nature of the business, it is advised for the customer to choose between predictive and progressive, both having their advantages and disadvantages. I hope this video helps you out in some way to understand predictive versus progressive. Please give your feedbacks for me to make better videos next time. Thank you. Signing off. C-Zen Talk.